Hi, we are back in the black hole of real estate, and today there's something that's on my mind about the information or lack of information or even misinformation around this NAR settlement. And while I did want to spend a lot of time on just going deep on it, I realize I have to right now. So, hey, this is Ron Wysockarski. I'm your host for the black hole of real estate. I want to jump right in because right now I'm hearing it in the marketplace where agents are having conversations with sellers regarding the fees that were, being negotiated to list and sell a property and co-broke with. The same conversations have been going on since I've been in the business and long, long before me. And now there's a prevailing conversation, a narrative that's talking about, if I just wait till July or August, I won't have to pay any commissions to buyers and I can just list my property, whatever I want to do. And it occurred to me that they can do that right now. They don't need to wait to do that. With this information that's being passed around, somewhere along the line, I believe that the consumer is feeling like, hey, it's free. I don't have to pay anything anymore ever again. And I think it's a really big, big question that needs to be answered and discussed in the marketplace, especially among those that are selling their homes. You can negotiate your commission right now. You could sell it by owner right now, not pay anything. And I think that if somebody's thinking that they want to sell their home and not pay anybody, they don't need to wait. Put it online right now. Sell your own property and navigate that. And the reality of it is, some people probably are able to do that. Probably do it really well. I think most will struggle. And it's not just the forms of the contract or the marketing or the photos. Those things can be figured out. But you're also paying for the expertise if you choose to hire an agent and pay a fee. The same way that you could probably go to court and represent yourself. You could. But when an attorney represents you, they're going to have an engagement letter, which is like a listing contract or a buyer's agreement. An engagement letter with an attorney, it dictates the terms of which they'll work on your behalf and the fees involved. So if we think of this as an engagement letter, you're not necessarily paying that attorney for their time. You're paying them for their 10, 20, 30 years of expertise in the market and track record. And that's why people pay that. It's the same with doctors. You have an engagement with your doctor. I mean, you may not realize it, but when you're signing all those forms, you're agreeing to pay for a service, and that's what this is. So rather than go any further in that conversation, I think we understand that what we really have is listing agreements and buyer agency agreements. I'll just call them engagement letters that dictate the terms of which you work for. You could absolutely do it on your own, and you may not need 20 or 30 years of expertise in order to sell your property. But if you're uncertain about the forms or the contracts or the laws, or maybe you don't quite understand inspections or have the connections within the industry to get those done properly and effectively and timely, or maybe you don't have a complete knowledge of the right lenders or what to ask a lender when somebody's making an offer on your home, or possibly not knowing about, is a roof good, or what is a wind mitigation report. You see, you start stacking those things up and you have to ask yourself, is my lack of expertise going to cost me more down the road than it would have to hire a professional? And that's the conversation that's happening. So if a seller is waiting till August, and I hear this, I talk to a lot of agents on a daily basis, coaching, consulting, and of course recruiting. And when we hear, I'll just wait till August, I don't have to pay anything, the response should always be, don't wait, do it now. Just do it yourself. And that's really what it's amounting to. The other side is that when you do something at a discounted rate, it doesn't mean you're getting worse service or worse of anything. It just suggests to me that you are decreasing your odds to get top-level 5-star service. And that's why people pay a lot of money for certain kinds of phones and certain kinds of dinners and certain kinds of coffee. They just pay a little bit more, and that's okay. My main concern is that a seller that is saying they'll wait until a couple months go by and do it for free, I think that's the biggest misconception right now. And if they're waiting for that at a time when the market may just, it typically slows in the month of September, October in most markets. So if they're waiting for that, you might be marketing into a time when there's less buyers and there's less activity, and there's no guarantee that rates are going up or down. So I would just say, if you're thinking of waiting only because of the fee involved, I think there's solutions available today, the same as they're going to be here in 2 months right now, and I hope that helps the sellers out just a little bit. Now, if you're a buyer, and this is a little bit different for the buyer side, because now we're wagering a few things on the buy side. There are some buyers that are completely unaffected if they have to pay a fee for someone to represent them. So if they have the cash to buy a home and they realize they're going to pay someone to be their agent at some fee, whatever that is, it may be a drop in the bucket compared to what they have in the bank, and that's fine. And so they're largely unaffected. And quite honestly, whatever the fee was, they're probably taking it off the price because both sides are realizing if the owner of the home is not paying a fee to anybody, then the buyer is smart enough to say, well, if you're not paying a fee, then this looks like a good price to me. I think the math is pretty easy to work out, or at least ballpark it. Now, what happens to a buyer that maybe is less inclined to pay a fee or unable to pay a fee? Now they can do it on their own. Always have been able. I mean, you don't have to have an agent to buy a house. That's been proven, documented, and people do it every day. But if you really want or need the expertise of an agent, then it's got to come from someplace. So you'll be writing a bigger check at closing, or if you need that, that discount broker or that lower fee, that could work out well. It doesn't have to mean bad things. Maybe someone would work for a lot less money and feel charitable and help you out. That's a real thing, and that might just happen. So you just roll the dice on that. But if you are banking that not only are you going to get a reduced fee and a reduced price, or get it done on your own, or basically for nothing, but you're also wagering that rates come down and prices come down, that's a lot of hoping. And a lot of times we say hopium is not a strategy. And I would just really be careful. I think some buyers are going to temporarily be out of the market, and I think it looks like this. They're going to come up with a point where right now they can buy, where traditionally most sellers are still offering a commission to the co-broking agency. And so that's helping buyers because it's their more traditional business. It's understandable, and it lowers the amount of money to be brought to the table at closing. So I think that's well documented. And as time goes forward, there'll be less opportunity to do the business as it used to be. And a new business as usual is going to be, you're going to bring a little more money to closing. And if we're wagering that rates come down and they don't, that could be a problem. Or if we're hoping that prices also come down and they don't, then we could be finding that some buyers are just shut out of the market, or staying where they are, or possibly just continuing to rent. And none of those are terrible, like threatening things that would really harm an individual. But if it's something that you really want, you've desired to buy a home and you're this close to doing it, I think some people will actually do it in the month or two ahead before this settlement kicks in, just for the certainty of it. When we eventually see a rate drop, a quarter point can mean a lot over the life of the loan, but it might only be $20 or $30 in payment. So it's not something that if it's a few $100 a year, it's real money. But we're not saving $500 a month because the rates went down a quarter point, if that's what it is. And we're not saving a lot of prices come down $5 or $10 grand. We're saving something, but the savings is not cutting the price of the house in half, and it's not cutting the monthly payment in half. And for most people, even though we look at the price of a house, it's not unlike a vehicle. Most people buy a car based on the monthly payment, not on the price. And we absolutely see that as you increase the number of years in the car loan, the rate goes up. And you may pay 1.5 to 2 times more by stretching out the 7 years than if you did a 3 or 4 year car loan, because the rates go up in the payment. As you look at it and look at the cost of stretching it out, it does get prohibitive. So I would just let people know in the best way possible that you've got choices. And I've just documented today just a little bit more about what you might experience as we get closer to the settlement. The choices that you have a few months from now are the exact same choices you have today, because you can hire an agent to represent you while you're buying a property today, and you can reduce that expense on the seller side if you wanted to and offer them a lower price. And for some people, paying less for a property might be a different tax basis or something for the property. People are doing it today. So if you want to hire a buyer agent, with a brokerage agreement, you can do that today. You could do no commissions and sell it by yourself today if you're selling a home. The good news is you don't have to wait. You've got options, and I hope that clears things up a little bit. For what I'm looking at, the only thing that really is changing dramatically is that you can't post in the MLS what the co-broking commission is. You can still offer it, you just can't post it. And that's really what I want to talk about today. So I hope this helps you out just a little bit. I still am a little hesitant to talk too much about this NAR settlement, let it dominate things. But I do realize right now there's a need to get this information out there, because there's a lot of people that are just not quite understanding it, because I don't know if we're doing a good job of explaining it. So less on the litigious side and less on the language of it, and more brass tacks. So what does it mean to me as a consumer? I hope that helped out. This is Ron Wysokarski for the Black Hole of Real Estate.